Victor. Hi, Victor. It's so good to still have you with me in the studio. And of course, we're talking about the issue of the national minimum wage, which is like a thorny issue, which has somewhat, pit the organized labor, against the federal government in its quest to get a figure, which it says will not return Nigerian workers to that starvation point, a minimum wage that can actually take them home, what they call living wage. So before the break, Victor, we were talking about what you think should be done, to help the situation. And what's that?
Every responsible, I'm picking my language very carefully, every responsible government will always think about its citizens, especially the poorest of the poor, to protect its citizens. Americans subsidize their farmers. The reason is if they don't do, and people will tell you in America that food is cheap. You have heard about the food riots. It was the food riot that started the Arab Spring. A loaf of bread. I don't know if you recall. A loaf of bread crisis. That's what started the Arab Spring in Tunisia. And then it spread across. So governments will look at this and say, you don't say, oh, it doesn't matter. I will repeat what I've always said. When the poor get hungry, they start eating the rich. It's not a doomsday prophecy. So we need that thing. When fuel was being subsidized, the thing we need to do, and that's not being done. We have just heard again now that several trillions, almost 9 trillion or over 9 trillion, has already been spent on subsidy that we were told was removed. And I'm saying, how? Where? How did this happen? And then that happened, and yet fuel is still at the cost that it is.
Okay, so initially, were you against the idea of removing subsidy on petrol?
I mean, the truth is, I wasn't even sure whether there was subsidy or not, because I don't have the information. I'm not in government.
So you would have wanted government to keep paying, subsidy on petrol.
I'll say this to you about subsidy, petrol, and all that. We need to have the facts. Till tomorrow, nobody has been able to tell us the truth. Before Buhari came, he said there was no subsidy. Later on, he came in, and then they were talking about subsidy. Okay?
How could we have heard that there was no subsidy? Because we know that when Goodluck Jonathan was there, he made an attempt to remove fuel subsidy.
Yes.
But then he was, strongly opposed,
exactly.
And the idea died. So there couldn't then have been talks that there was no subsidy.
You see, there are conflicting. Everything about subsidy is conflicting and shrouded in secrecy. Okay? Now, if we have the facts, and we don't have the facts, I don't know anybody who truly has the facts. Now we have been told it's been removed. And in the same breath, we are told now that 9-point-something trillion has been paid for subsidy. I don't know if you're as confused as I am, but I'm not ashamed to admit that I'm confused. I don't know who to believe. I don't know what the truth is anymore. But if that be the case...
But, Victor, this figure you're mentioning, is it confirmed or is it mere speculation?
It's not speculation.
Confirmed by or from what source now?
Let me see if I can recall the source right now.
Okay.
If I do, I'll let you know. If we have another break, I'll confirm and let you know. Yeah? But it's from government, from what I gather. But we can confirm. And if it's not, it's okay. I'm not saying it's okay, but
All right, so it means it can't be substantiated,
yes,
at least for now.
Yeah. So, so the thing is, if fuel will help the common man survive, and you know that fuel, like I say, it has this, ripple effect across the economy. We all know that. You touch fuel, it's like the life wire. If that is what it takes for food to be down, if that is what it takes for transportation to be affordable, if that is what it takes for, prices to be low, when it was being subsidized, we lived well. We didn't die. There were still developmental projects going on. Rice was affordable. School fees were affordable. Everything was affordable.
But do you remember some or one of the reasons, given for its removal? Government spoke about the fact that it seemed to be gathering, all the money in a few pockets, like the pockets of a few persons.
Which is the point I was saying, that should have been dealt with. You know what the problem is, okay? If the money is going into it, what stops government itself from doing the importation?
And you think the marketers, fuel marketers, petrol marketers wouldn't, raise some dust about that?
Raise dust how? How raise dust over what?
No, we've constantly spoken about PPP, public-private partnership. Let's not only be the government handling some of these deals.
Government has also been involved in importing fuel, including, if you remember, those terribly smelling fuel. So we know that government also imports fuel. We know that. NNPC imports fuel as well. So if that is what it takes, import the fuel at that rock bottom, at an affordable price, or if the subsidy is there, then it means government will gain twice. Let government subsidize it. The money remains within government. Do you understand what I'm saying? Get the fuel and subsidize the cost to the common man. Every other thing stays down. Like the Americans have subsidized their farmers. Fuel is like the blood of the economy in this country. It's not just cash, it's fuel. We know that. We've seen the impact and the effect. Okay? Then the issue of the dollar, I don't even want to go into all that again because the way it was handled, that is another issue that also catapulted things beyond, But if we don't even talk about the dollar, let's even look at the issue of fuel because we have control over that. Dollar, we talk about market forces and all that, but, well, no. That itself, that singular thing, just messed up everything for us. It did.
But you also know that there was a time there were calls that, only government shouldn't be importing. I mean, they should allow the marketers themselves,
who would
those
be
who are in the
saying that,
business.
and for what reason? Perhaps there are selfish interests.
Is government able to supply the entire nation?
Why not? Is it not importation? You bring it in, the people that import it are not the ones necessarily distributing it. No. There are those who import as part of their business. Wherever you bring it to and put it in the tank farms, the tankers are there ready to pick and supply.
All right, let's talk about the attitude of Nigerians.
Yes.
While still on the podium on at his inauguration in 2023, the moment the president announced subsidy is gone and all that, if you walk around some streets in Lagos, some expressways in Lagos, you'll find that fuel stations that were initially selling, that had fuel in the reservoirs, they suddenly stopped selling, only because they heard that word.
Wouldn't you?
And they were...
Wouldn't you?
Why would you?
Why wouldn't you? Because whatever you sell, you're going to buy higher. So it's normal. There's nothing wrong with that.
But this is an old stock, which you got at very subsidized rates, and which you're meant to sell off and then then sell at the new rates. Isn't that what should be?
Let me tell you how it works. If I bought this for 5 naira and I'm selling for 7 naira, okay? And remember, the increase was almost 100%. Now, if I'm going back to buy, I'm going back to buy at 10 naira. I'm losing 3 naira in spite of the profit I made. I'm not blaming them.
But then you are meant to pay.
No, because they would have to go and look for extra money to buy again.
So they then, because of that, they then move the entire, money thing on the consumer who has no hand in it. Or who pays for it? Who pays for those extras?
No, the government cost it. You don't see. I'm very pragmatic.
Oh, in the pragmatism.
I bought this 5 naira.
Yes.
I'm selling for 7 naira.
Yes.
Now to go back to the market, I'll be going back to buy it at 10 naira. And I say, let me sell off this one at 7 naira first. Then I'll go. Where do I get money to buy it at 10?
Where is your moral uprightness?
I don't understand what you mean by
what I mean is, where is the individual's moral uprightness, patriotism,
I don't think
and
you
even
understand. No. You see, I don't think you understand business if you say that.
So
Listen,
Victor,
it's simple. It's simple. I bought at 5 naira. I'm selling at 7. Now, if I'm going back to the market, I'm going to buy at 10 naira.
Yes.
You don't talk about moral uprightness.
Why not get a loan?
I get a loan at what cost?
But Victor, the
government has made an announcement.
Really, let's bring this
I can't afford it anymore. If I was buying 10 of this, I'm now going to be buying about 4 of it. Or probably 5 of it.
So when you buy the 4, then you sell based on the amount at which you bought the 4, and then you make your profit. You are able to get your capital, and then you get back there.
I don't think you're listening and following the.
Then there are people who don't actually mean well.
No.
Don't you think?
No. With that announcement, the announcers are those that don't mean well. Because this man has to go back.
But this is something that was already laid down. He wasn't even the one that made the law. It's something, no, but really, Victor. This was something that was already on ground. And as a matter of fact, this subsidy thing was meant to be on for a certain period of time. It wasn't on that, Victor, it wasn't on that 29th of May that it should end.
let me speak to that and say in fairness to the president, the outgoing president, or outgoing at the time,
Buhari,
had, in the budget, the subsidy, provision for subsidy ended, I think it was going to end by the end of June.
And that was May 29th.
Just a minute.
31 days.
Yes. What I expected the president to have done is not take a unilateral decision. Permit me to say. What he ought to have done upon resumption was not to make that announcement. What he ought to have done, since it was already there, was first a sensitization. Okay? Also consultation with all stakeholders. There may be resistance, no doubt. But the truth is, it has been removed from the that provision.
Fiscal.
Yes, it has been removed from the budget. Having been removed from the budget, you have two options. You can stick with it and do all the explanation and hope that Nigerians will buy into it with your reasons, or you can do a supplementary budget if you want to sustain it. It's simple. Those were the two options. Okay? So now he did not do the consultation. He took that was the first thing he made. The first policy decision he took. This has been removed. And you think I'll be sleeping and sitting down when I know that my profit is going to be wiped out? I sell off and I cannot go back and afford. I will not be able to afford it. Speaking about the retailers, yes, and the marketers. So they had to protect themselves because there was no way they could have been able to restock without doing it at a loss or going to get a loan. Secondly, I thought he should have consulted. You understand? Talk to the National Assembly, talk to everybody else, and say, okay, see, how do we do it? And let's reach a meeting point. That was not done. Okay? The third thing is, we have said no. I don't want to destabilize my government from the beginning. Okay? I can face it. Let me, continue to subsidize until I find a direction. Because although he was part of he's in the party, he was not part of the administration. You understand? So he acted without full information. If he had full information and he acted, then he was deliberate. And so, this is the effect.
You spoke about consultations. Don't you think that the Muhammadu Buhari administration actually, engaged? Because for them to have set out in the budget that payment of subsidy... Why didn't he do
it in his time? Of course, he knew the socio-political implications.
So...
why did he do it when he was in government?
But considering then that it was already in the budget, that at a certain time it would end.
It's like a mine, what do you call it now? Is it minefield or mine that was set?
Was it like just passing the buck?
Yeah, and he shouldn't have fallen for the trap. Why didn't Buhari do it? Of course, Buhari knew the implication. He knew the implication on the economy. He knew the implication on the stability of his government. He didn't do it. And then he left it for the incoming administration, and they felt they were bold enough they could chest it. And look at it.
But during the election campaign...
So if they did that, they should live with the consequence, which includes the issue of increasing minimum wage.
During campaigns for the elections, virtually all the presidential candidates, made boast of the fact that it's one of the things they were going to do. They were going to remove subsidy.
Methodology would have differed. I don't think that every single one of them, if they had gotten it, would have made that announcement that same day. I don't think that every single one of them would have decided not to do consultation. And I also don't think that every single one of them would not have, tried to see if they could face it. This is the only one we've seen, and that's the only one we can talk about.
But here we are now, Victor.
Yes.
Like we are here in Nigeria, we are here Nigerians, we can see what is happening.
Yes.
What is the way forward? And tying it to, what actually brought us here, the issue of national minimum wage. What figure do you recommend that would be a living wage for Nigerian workers?
Again, I'm not running away from mentioning figures. What is of concern to me is how much can a person actually, at the barest minimum, survive with. It is certainly not 69,000. Because if we had done the calculations I wanted to do, you'll find that even 150,000 will not cut it. Because if you begin to break it down to Even, I don't know how many people can feed on 500 naira per meal right now. So if you look at 30,000 naira, 500 naira per meal for a family of 6, father, mother, and 4 kids, which is the one the constitution of the government is saying, okay, recommending average family size, 6, that's 3,000. In a month of 30 days, that's already 90,000. You have not paid transport. You have not paid your house rent. You've not paid for light. You have not paid your children's school fees. Look at that. At 500 naira per head. And you know that can't even put food on the table. So at 3,000 naira a day, that's already 90,000. So, let's be reasonable. Let's be human. Let government wear a human face for once. If you do the maths, even 150,000 will not cut it. And that's why I'm saying, how do we even survive? Just do the maths alone. Just say, okay, just feeding alone. 500 naira per head. 3,000 naira a day for a family of father, mother, 4 children. They are not paying school fees. They are not paying transport to go to school. Okay? They are not paying house rent. They are not paying for light. They're not paying for any other thing. That's already 90,000. Think about it.
All right. And earlier we're talking about the cost of governance,
Yes.
And because some have said that, there should be a reduction. And earlier you also spoke about the ordering of our priorities as a nation. So what do you recommend, for instance, for the National Assembly? Should we maintain?
I really wish that the National Assembly would not make laws on things that would benefit them. I wish that was something that could be, taken away from them. We have the salaries and wages, whatever, but even the National Assembly approves their budget. They cannot do anything. So it's so unfortunate that, it's like people are judges in their own case. That's why you have a situation where you have a National Assembly where they can recommend anything. You come up with your budget, they will begin to slot things that are not even relevant whatsoever. I've seen so many of that. I looked at the one that is relevant to my sector. I don't want to mention here so that I'm not drawing. And I began to see things like, it's a sector that has nothing to do with solar power. You see solar power in certain villages and certain things. And you begin to ask yourself, what for? People in the National Assembly are slotting things that are not relevant. If you're talking about, what can we say, Ministry of Works, for instance. The only things you should see in the budget are things that have to do with Ministry of Works. You cannot carry drama and put in Ministry of Works. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. If you are talking about petroleum, you cannot be talking about things that are not related to petroleum. But go and look at your national budget. All sorts of things are stuffed in there. For what? They're all looking for ways and means of filtering away funds.
So you want a reduction of the powers of the National Assembly?
Their powers, yes, should be limited. They should not make laws that benefit them.
So who would make such laws? How would it be structured?
The problem has been there, been issue. Unfortunately, nobody can change it because they are the ones that make the laws. So if you say change the laws, they are the same ones. And they will not make a law that will not favor them, unfortunately.
Some of them are making a case for, parliamentary system of government.
Yes, we'll have to wait and see how it works.
Would you support that? Or would you maintain?
For me, you see, however the system is, the mental attitude is what is more important. People will still twist things. It will work, but we had it before and we had the problems that we had. But maybe it might cut down the cost of governance because the ministers will come from there. You understand what I'm saying? So you're not getting a different set of people as ministers. You understand? And then you're having just one National Assembly, Parliament. Okay? So it might cut down the cost. The bicameral system is too expensive for us. It's too expensive.
And if we're unable to get back to parliamentary, if it's still, the bicameral that we're running at the moment, what do you think? Should it now become a part-time basis?
I would recommend that very strongly. Part-time, and it's not just, when you say part-time, beyond part-time, even the allowances and all the things, and even then, none of them should be accommodated. Just, you take an amount that is recommended for accommodation, just take that. I don't even think they should be accommodated, quite frankly.
So they should look for their way to, just get to the assembly.
That's it. I mean, it's, these are people who are supposed to have been comfortable already. You don't come there to earn a living. No, it shouldn't be. You should come there to serve. Unfortunately, the reason many of them have remained there over the years is that they can't do any other thing. Government has become business.
All right, so as we go from here, what is your, what is your chart? Because really, I'm wondering if Nigeria can afford another strike, by organized labor. Nigeria can afford another strike.
If it will reset the system such that we can, like you reboot when your system is not working very well, you reset it.
How much resetting of the system has it done in the past?
Huh?
How much resetting of the system has, have industrial actions had in the past?
Oh, industrial action was what Nadeko used to bring us where we are now, to win democracy for us. So we need a lot of reset. So whatever it takes to make government listen and look after the interests not of the rich, but of the poorest of the poor. I think any such action is necessary. And I think is welcome. But more importantly, I want to appeal to government. They may mean well, but they probably are not listening to the right people. There's so much suffering in the land. There's so much hunger. There's a need to design policies that favor the poorest of the poor, not the middle class, not the rich.
So some of the interventions in the past, giving of grants to, the poorest of the poor, those grants...
It doesn't get to them.
Where does it...
I don't know. It doesn't get to them.
But we see pictures of people receiving...
Leave pictures. How many people do you know have benefited? Be honest. Be truthful to yourself. Among the poor, how many do you know you are a live witness to that have benefited? Let's not deceive ourselves. Politicians will still corner it. They will still use it as campaign materials, to say, okay, we did it. And so many things are played to the camera. So it's not, these things don't help.
So going forward...
Those grants, nobody is looking for handouts. Nobody is looking for grants. All I say is an enabling environment for us to live and do our business. That's all we need. Let there be light. Let there be fuel, affordable fuel, so that we can do our business. But none of these things exist right now.
All right, then. Social commentator Victor Hyde, it's been good having you on the program. I hope the next time, we talk, we would have a new minimum wage. And
for me, it's not about numbers. I would repeat, it's not about the numbers. Can we have, even if it's 250 naira, one that people can actually survive with? That's what I'm interested in. I'm not interested in the numbers. Whether 250,000 or 25,000 is not important. If the environment is conducive enough for whatever you take to be able to take you receive to take you home, that's what I'm after.
Victor Hyde, it's been a pleasure having you here. Thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Well, that's it on